They had prepared for tears, for explanations, for emotional chaos. They expected you to collapse, to question your worth, to chase clarity. They needed proof that they still mattered. Instead, you stepped back calmly, like someone closing a door they no longer needed to walk through. That was the moment their ego cracked. Because what they lost wasn't love, they lost control. They had built a version of themselves inside your mind, admired, elevated, irreplaceable. Your attention was the oxygen keeping that image alive. Every reaction you gave reassured them that they were special, dominant, untouchable. And when you stopped feeding that illusion, it didn't fade slowly, it collapsed instantly. They weren't grieving your absence, they were grieving the mirror you used to hold up for them. An ego-driven person doesn't fall apart when love ends. They fall apart when validation disappears. Your silence stripped them of the role they were playing, the one where they were always the center, the prize, the authority. Without you reacting, there was no audience left to applaud their performance. They told themselves they were unforgettable. Your calm proved how forgettable power really is without leverage. Nothing terrifies a fragile ego more than realizing the world keeps moving without them, that your life didn't stall, that you didn't freeze in grief, that you didn't spiral publicly. Your quiet progress became the loudest insult they'd ever experienced. They expected to live rent-free in your emotions. Instead, they were evicted without notice. They weren't hurt because you walked away. They were shocked that you could. In their story, you were always the one who stayed, the one who forgave, the one who bent. They wrote a future where you'd return out of habit, attachment, or fear. The moment you didn't, you burned the entire script they depended on to feel superior. That wasn't heartbreak, that was identity collapse. They had mistaken your patience for dependence, your kindness for weakness, your loyalty for desperation. When you withdrew it all at once, they were forced to face a truth they'd been avoiding. Their confidence was never real, it was borrowed. You didn't shatter their emotions, you shattered the throne they placed themselves on. They loved the version of themselves they got to be around you, strong, desired, important, in control. When you left, that version disappeared, and without it, they were just another insecure person scrambling to hold on to relevance. They said they were the strong one, but strength doesn't unravel in silence. The way they reacted exposed everything: restlessness, obsession, subtle anger, loud justifications, all signs of someone who lost their supply. You didn't attack them, you simply removed yourself, and that absence forced them to see how hollow their self-image really was. You were never meant to see behind the mask, but you did. And when you walked away without drama, the mask fell off on its own. Ego needs illusion the way fire needs oxygen. The moment you stopped believing in the version they sold, their confidence suffocated. They weren't ready to meet the unfiltered version of themselves, ordinary, insecure, and painfully dependent on external validation. They claimed you were emotional. They assumed you'd be the one begging. When you didn't, it shattered their internal hierarchy. You became the calm one, the detached one, the composed one. And nothing destabilizes an ego faster than a role reversal they didn't approve. They needed you to react so they could feel powerful. You gave them nothing, and that nothing destroyed them. The relationship to them was a stage. They were the lead character. You were meant to support their narrative. When you stepped off that stage, the spotlight stayed and revealed flaws they never intended to confront.
They thought they were the exception in your life, the one person you'd never leave. Losing that belief was the real wound. They loved the admiration, the forgiveness, the emotional generosity you offered without keeping score. That was the foundation of their self-esteem. When you stopped giving it, their ego didn't just bruise, it withered. Your absence unplugged the source of their false confidence. Their anger isn't about the ending. It's about the realization they never held the upper hand. They mistook ego death for heartbreak because it hurt too deeply to name honestly. It was never love they were protecting. It was self-worship. And you walking away without suffering exposed how one-sided that dynamic always was. They're furious because you didn't fall apart. They needed proof that they mattered. Tears, messages, late-night weakness, anything. Instead, you became quiet, stable, distant, and that calm screamed louder than any argument ever could. What haunts them most is knowing you saw their flaws early, the manipulation, the insecurity, the need for control, and still treated them with respect. That maturity humiliated them. It revealed how small their tactics really were. They said you couldn't leave. The moment you did, their entire narrative collapsed. You didn't break a heart, you broke a delusion. They imagined you would shrink without their attention. You expanded instead. That glow you found afterward, that peace, became the sharpest blade to their ego. Nothing wounds pride like watching someone thrive without you. They replay the past, searching for the moment they lost control. The truth is uncomfortable. They never had it. You were always observing, always understanding, always preparing to detach the moment clarity arrived. What they lost wasn't love. It was the illusion of dominance. Their pain is inward-facing. They're grieving the false identity your presence helped maintain. Without you, their weaknesses became impossible to ignore. Their pride can't accept that their mind games meant nothing to someone who already knew the truth. They hate that your exit exposed them. Not as powerful, not as special, just loud, insecure, and dependent. They didn't lose a partner. They lost the only person who made them feel larger than they truly were. And now everyone can see the difference. When ego cracks, confidence leaks, and it's impossible to hide. You didn't destroy them, you revealed them. Their self-worth was built on being admired. When the admiration vanished, so did the identity attached to it. They don't miss you. They miss the superiority they felt when you looked at them with belief. They resent you because you left cleanly, calmly, without begging. That kind of exit dismantles anyone who relies on emotional leverage. You walked away with dignity. They were left with insecurity. Accuracy is devastating to someone who survives on illusion.
and you see them clearly now. They can't rewrite the story. They can't call you weak. They can't call you desperate. Your composure erased every excuse they depended on. That's not heartbreak. That's ego annihilation. They lie awake not missing you, but missing who they were when you admired them. The importance, the validation, the sense of control. You didn't break their heart, you removed the pedestal. And nothing destroys a prideful person faster than realizing the one they tried to control was the one holding the real power all along.